sports talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
And welcome into Purple Daily Live as we do on Fridays. Yes, we are here. Yes, we see your comments. I apologize for our tardiness. We went a little bit long in talking to Patrick Royce on the Unchained segment today, which you'll be able to find shortly right here on Score North. But we are here again. Apologies that we didn't start on time at 10.
I mean, at this point, we haven't started at 10 once. Like, it's never been a thing.
I know, but I don't blame folks who tune in and they're like, "Are you going to start on time?" And we're like, "No." I mean, we work in or we cover a team where we expect people to be on time and football and stuff. So I get
they're
it.
never on time. But when has a PR interview ever been on time?
Oh,
Judd?
no.
On time.
No, I'm saying players reporting, for instance, when the rookies report, and hopefully by that time Jordan Addison has slowed the Lambo down on Sunday, or when the veterans report on Tuesday. Okay, it's Judd, it's Declan. If you're saying where is Macadac is at a wedding out in the Pacific Northwest, and he will rejoin us on Tuesday, which, by the way, is also the day, as I said, veterans report, and we're also going to have, just got the training camp schedule. We're going to hear from Quasito Fomensa and Kevin O'Connell at a press conference on Tuesday. So football season is here. Some teams have already started training camp. Purple Daily, of course, brought to you by our friends at TCL. If you are not watching sports on a TCL television, you're doing it wrong. Pick up a TCL, and of course, always tell them that the boys from Score North and Purple Daily sent you. And last but not least, also sponsored by our friends, our good friends, my great friends.
My fridge is stocked right now.
I bought a 12er last night. I went and bought a 12er Surly Before I Die, which is back. It's also now available for the 2023 season in 12 packs. It is outstanding. It's fantastic. And Dex and I have both been preparing for training camp by sipping on some Surly, and in particular Before I Die, although I mixed in a couple of Furious last night as well. Declan, it's a Feedback Friday. That means that ordinarily Macadac reads the questions and we chime in with pithy comments. But because Phil is not here and because I cannot be trusted to go through comments, you are in charge. Go ahead. Take control.
All right. Purple Daily, live Feedback Friday edition. Yes, we read your comments here. So we have a collection of Kirk Cousins related comments, as well as some off the wall comments, as we like to do here on Feedback Friday. Plus, one person has a bone to pick with Judd's underappreciated Vikings list that he also released on Thursday.
Very fair.
We'll get into later on the show. And actually, I'm going to make a hot route here, if you will. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a fun little addition to the end of the show. I just want that out there. So stick around for the end of the show. I'm going to do something that we haven't done on Purple Daily yet. Okay. And I'm going to call a little hot route audible, a little Diggs sideline touchdown unbelievable audible. So Joe, let's go here. Adam says, of the top 10 quarterback rankings, the ones that ESPN executives and scouts and whatnot put out, which one does Kirk Cousins end up jumping, and which of the top 6 completely fall off the board? So 2-part question there. So which of the top 10 quarterbacks, I think I know which ones, could Kirk jump and become a top 10 QB? And of those top 6, which are pretty firm, those are top 6 guys that are all pretty strongly in. You can mix and match the 1 through 6 for the most part, but those are all pretty legit guys. Which one of those top 6 actually ends up falling off completely? I can give you the list too, if that.
Yeah, give me the list. Needed. Yep, it'll speed it up.
I can give you the list here in just a sec as I get down to the tweet. I know Joe Burrow was number 1, or excuse me, Pat Mahomes was number 1, right? Joe Burrow ended up being number 2.
Josh Allen.
Number 3 was Josh Allen. Number 4 was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Number 5 was Justin Herbert. 6 was Jalen Hurts. 7 was Lamar Jackson. 8, Trevor Lawrence. 9, Dak Prescott. 10, Matthew Stafford.
So he's going to, and I think we discussed this in detail with Phil, but he would, Judd yells at clouds. That's probably true. I'm 53 years old. I should be yelling at clouds. We discussed this, but I think that he has a real opportunity to jump 2 guys, Dak Prescott and Stafford. And with Stafford, I mean, look, he won a Super Bowl. He's really good, but he was hurt the majority of 2022. And so there's no guarantees guys come back. And if they do come back, there's no guarantee that he's going to go back to being the quarterback who threw a no-look pass in a Super Bowl game to Cooper Kupp, which was absolutely incredible. So I would say that it's very plausible if Kirk has, builds upon last year with O'Connell, and in year 2 is even better, that he would have an opportunity to jump both Dak and especially Stafford. Now, was part of the question, can he get in the top 6?
Part of the question, the other one was
What's
of
the other
the
question?
6, which one falls off? So of those 6,
I gotcha.
Mahomes,
Okay.
Burrow, Allen, Rodgers, Herbert, Hurts. Which one falls off? Which one's kind of overrated, basically?
Oh boy. Well, the obvious answer, just because of age,
right,
is Rodgers with the Jets. Like, we just don't know there. He could be Favre 2009, right? Reinvigorated and play great, but he's not a young man now. Right. So I would say that the one that jumps out to me, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I looked this up, in the quarterback list you're talking about, Aaron Rodgers, I think went into 2022 number 1, and now he's fallen to 4. Mm-hmm. I think he's the obvious one, just because we don't know. And I will continue to hammer home the point. What Tom Brady did is not going to become, in my opinion, the norm.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to be 42 and still slinging the ball. Could Rodgers do that? Well, I guess he could, but I really hesitate before it's the norm to say, oh, Kirk can play till he's 44. We don't know that. And I would just caution that most guys hit a cliff long before Tom Brady did.
I mean, I've been on this train for a while. I think even the guys that are playing well into their mid to late 30s is not the norm. I know Drew Brees did it, and I know a lot of these other players have done it. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger was a shell of himself. He just had a really good roster and coaching and infrastructure around him that it kind of absorbed it a little bit. Russell Wilson might be completely cooked. He's not even, he's 33? I mean, he might be done, Judd. I know Nathaniel Hackett probably had a lot to do with that too. But I think we are so, we have these like quarterback beer goggles on that is just like, oh no, they can play till they're 38, 39. Like, no, not everyone can do that. Not everyone can. So yeah, I think of those 6 guys though, I agree with you that he's better than Dak Prescott and probably better than Matthew Stafford too, at its peak. But of those 6 guys, the one that concerns me, and I've been kind of skeptical on Justin Herbert. He is a generational talent. He's got a lot of raw ability. And as much as I'm a big Kellen Moore fan, and I do think he makes the jump, I still don't like Brandon Staley. He's having another offensive coordinator here. I think the things that are surrounding Justin Herbert could hurt him. Now, I think Justin Herbert's still a really good quarterback. I would love him as my franchise guy. But I don't like Brandon Staley. I've been on the record on that for like the last few years. And as I think Kellen Moore is good for him, but who knows? Maybe he's not. Maybe the Cowboys were right about Kellen Moore. Maybe they were. I don't think so, but I could see someone like him maybe taking a little bit of hit because of his coaching infrastructure.
Yeah. What's your opinion on Hurts? Do you think he falls off or continues to ascend? Because like, he has come on, and there's no questioning how good he was last season. But do you think he takes another step off of that, or do you think he actually takes, potentially a small step backwards?
Well, he made obviously the biggest jump last year, right? In terms of like quarterback rankings and perception. And I mean, no one had Jalen Hurts as a top 50. I really had like a top 15 guy going into last season. At least it wasn't really consensus, and he became a legit MVP candidate. I think with those dual threat quarterbacks, unfortunately, health is number 1. We've seen that with Lamar. Now, when Lamar's been on the field, the Ravens are really good, but he's missed a lot of time. So can Jalen Hurts stay healthy, who did also miss time last year? And then 2, those running quarterbacks, books get put out on them a little bit. Like Colin Kaepernick was really good with the Niners for a long time, but then people started to figure out how to stop him, right? Like those dual threat guys eventually get stopped a little bit. There's a shelf life there. So I think Jalen Hurts, as long as he stays healthy and the Eagles' offensive line is still really good, I expect Jalen Hurts to still be really good next season. But I do think if he battles some injuries and other teams start to figure out how to handle that dual threatness that he possesses, then he'll be in trouble.
All right.
Let's go to this next one here. Storm Chaser on the YouTube comment section says, Kirk winning the MVP would be very bizarre. Judd, would you classify Kirk Cousins winning the MVP award to be bizarre?
I get the point. It's not the word I would use. I think it would be very surprising. Now, he does play a position that is basically now going into every year gifted that award. I would be very surprised given the competition. Not if he got a vote or if he got votes, but if he actually won it. Bizarre, though, indicates to me, like, I'm not sure. I would have to actually look up the definition of bizarre. I'm not sure bizarre is the word that we're looking for, but I totally get the point. And yes, it would be extremely surprising. But if you're a Vikings fan, it'd be a damn good thing. And if you're Kirk, it'd be a great thing, because if he won the MVP in 2023, that next contract, whomever it comes from, is going to look pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, I know Brady won it in 2017. Remember all those injuries that happened to quarterbacks? I mean, for God's sakes, the conference championship game sans Brady was Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, Nick Foles. Yeah, there probably have to be circumstances that are working for Cousins. I'd like to say for that to happen, but I mean, let's say they repeat. Let's say the repeat has 13 wins, and it's legit 13 wins this time, right? It's not fluky. It's not like the 9 fourth
They
quarter
actually hold
comebacks
leads throughout the course of entire games.
Yeah, the defense is really good. Kevin O'Connell kind of takes that next step as not just a nice head coach, but legit into that young head coaching tree that can out scheme you and just outgain you and outpossess you and whatnot. Right. So again, I think it's things that are propping up Kirk that would make that happen. If Kirk puts up Kirk numbers, that's probably going to be the norm. That's who Kirk is. But in terms of it being bizarre, I don't know if I'd classify it as bizarre.
The definition of bizarre, according to the Google machine, is very strange or unusual, especially so as to cause interest or amusement. For instance, her bizarre dresses and outrageous hairdos. So yeah, I don't know that that's the right term, but if Kirk wins the MVP, that next contract, that might be bizarre.
Yeah, I can see that too. Another comment on the top 10 list here from Thomas. Thomas says Matthew Stafford has a great arm. Dak can really put up the yards. It is tough to argue with this list, but at the same time, Kirk should be on the list. Perhaps after the 2023 season, Kirk will be on the list with a Super Bowl ring. It will take a little bit of magic, but it could happen. From 13 wins last year to Super Bowl this year, what's the problem with that?
Well, I mean, that's assuming a lot, but, again, I continue to say this. I could see the Vikings winning fewer games this season, but actually it being more, how can I put this, more pleasing to the eye if the defense can improve, right? Which it should. I mean, it can't get much worse. And I think Brian Flores is a great acquisition as your DC. The offense has components. So, yeah, and we've said for a long time, Dex, and Phil has said the same thing. Kirk Cousins is very much on the fringe. Matthew Stafford, a year ago, there's no question he had won a Super Bowl. He had a great season, was ahead of Kirk Cousins. But the great thing about sports is it fluctuates and changes every year, okay? I think the Dak Prescott discussion is more of a debate on that. I'm sure the Cowboys folks would be like, oh, you don't get what Dak does. You don't watch him every game. The Stafford thing is just the regression of him getting older and being hurt. And as we saw, and this is the one thing you cannot take away from Kirk, and I was impressed by it, and after watching quarterback, more so now, what we saw is that Kirk Cousins not only plays every game, but the dude plays hurt. And at that age, a lot of guys miss a lot of time. And I'm not trying to denigrate Stafford, but I am saying I don't think it's a stretch to say what we saw from Kirk Cousins last season was far more than we saw from Stafford. And Cousins does get credit for staying in when he was hurt.
Yeah, and Cousins is a warrior, man. And I don't think we really question that, but I don't think we maybe give him enough praise as we do for him being a warrior like that. Like, we don't question his toughness necessarily, but I don't think we also at the same time give him the proper praise he does deserve for basically never missing time. I mean, he basically had punctured and bruised ribs for more than half the season last year after that Buffalo game and played right through it and still put up big time throws and big time moments. And he deserves a ton of credit for that. Michael says, I have a suggestion. If you guys get the no Kirk, bad Kirk line from quarterback and you put it on the sound bar, you should play it when someone misses a touchdown and write that down.
Oh, I like that. That's
right?
A very good idea. No Kirk, bad Kirk.
No Kirk, bad Kirk. Yeah, that is in the works.
That's good.
I will have that on the button bar. Judd, I see a lot of people in our YouTube comment section asking about the Jordan Addison situation. Yeah, so let's get into that. Let's get into some Jordan Addison talk here. I know he was pulled over for going a $140 on I-94 near the Metro in St. Paul. I guess he missed obviously some time too in the OTAs. What is your spidey sense kind of telling you about Jordan Addison thus far?
Well, the missing time, the Vikings didn't talk about it. I have no clue there. He got hurt obviously in the rookie camp, and so he didn't participate after that. And just as a football thing, that's a little bit concerning because you want a guy like that, especially a guy who's expected at the age of 21, Declan, to step on the field. You want him to be able to practice. You want him to go through those reps. You want him to catch passes from, Kirk Cousins. This is not a guy who they're like, well, if it works out, it's great. And if it doesn't, that's okay too for a year. You want him to step in and complement Justin Jefferson and be part of a trio with KJ Osborne immediately. But it's hard to bash a guy because he gets hurt when we don't know a thing about it. That being said, this really concerns me though. Like there's a maturity thing here, and I know he's a 21-year-old kid, and I know that there have been a lot of guys in sports who drove too fast and gotten in trouble. Some have been drunk. In this case, there was he was not. He was going 140 at 3 a.m. He was ticketed. He was not jailed. He was not drunk. So there was not a untoward, he's now in the clink type of thing. But yeah, I think you have to be concerned because the level of maturity that you need from a player now, Dex, especially a first-round pick who you expect to help immediately, there's not a lot of time here to be like, okay, Jordan, you made a mistake here. And as someone just said in the comments, I mean, unfortunately, we've had players die. Jeff Gladney, a former Viking first-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, had been signed by the Cardinals, was involved in a car crash with his girlfriend. He died. Go back to the tragic thing in Vegas. Henry Ruggs didn't die, but he killed a woman and her dog, and he was going, 1-something as well, like ridiculously fast. And so, like, Jordan Addison is extremely fortunate going 140 miles per hour in the Metro on 94 to have walked away with, I'm sure, a very expensive ticket. Yep. This is a cautionary tale, and I'm sure that the Vikings will talk to him, but I can't say that I don't have concerns. And here's part of it too. You know what? For as unbelievably talented as this kid is, and he is great, what do we know about Justin Jefferson off the field where we've been like, whoa, don't like that? I don't think there's been a thing.
Yeah, no, I know JJ has had speeding tickets before, nothing of $140. I saw people throwing up. I was like, no, hey, Justin Jefferson had speeding tickets. We don't make a big thing out of it. Well, he wasn't going 140, and mostly there was a maturity factor. I think that was there. Look, I'm willing to give Jordan Addison the benefit of the doubt and give him a clean slate here of, all right, man, it's been a little bit rough here. You missed some time with injuries, which happened, but also you did something dumb with speeding. You're a young guy. You're impressionable. You just got life-changing money as a young 20-year-old who probably has never seen, and most people will never see that type of money in their lifetime. So I can understand you kind of get not power hungry, but you just kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit. I can give him a clean slate here, but man, you kind of dug yourself a little bit of a hole in the count, right? Like you have now put yourself in a spot where you're going to have to really do your absolute best to get back on base here and get a base hit. So I can give you a clean slate starting right now. But man, you haven't really done yourself any favors thus far since becoming a first-round draft pick.
Well, and I think that the most important thing too, and all teams now have this, is the Vikings have a fairly large support system group.
Oh, yeah.
And like they've got guys in the front office who are in charge of security and things like that. And yes, when he reports to training camp, I think Jordan Addison will be given a clean slate. But that being said, you got to keep a close eye here and help that kid a lot. Like the last thing that you want to do now is be like, well, you learned your lesson, kid. So go out there. Like this is a cautionary tale. It is a red flag, and thank God nothing tragic took place. Mm-hmm. But this is also an indication of sort of where you want him, because you got to earn that trust. And once it's eroded, especially again, the investment in this kid is enormous. When that trust has eroded, I don't think you just like sort of look the other way at that point. Right. So yes, it creates a no question about it concern. And this isn't a speeding ticket. This is going 140 miles an hour. And I'm sure some guys have done it and not got caught. Nonetheless, at 21, it is a concern.
Last thing on this from me, the Vikings, I think, have done a really good job of cleaning up a lot of these off the field situations. During the Tice years, Childress years, there was still things always seemed to be happening. Denny Green, well, Denny was even, another story. But I the thing that I don't think we just talked about not giving credit for, when Zimmer got here, the Vikings really did start to clean up a lot of that stuff. and they weren't becoming the laughing stock. They weren't leading the league in arrests. If you go back to a certain period, I know there's a ton of arrests and things, but in the last 10 years, Judd, at least in my opinion, they have cleaned up that for the most part. It's been a lot better. And I feel like Kwesi, KOC, and also goes beyond them. The Wilfs have created an infrastructure where they kind of have a much more accountability, and they have much more better situations to help out these players and make them learn from it, where in past regimes, they did not have that luxury.
Well, hell, when the Love Boat took place, the infamous Love Boat in 2005, before that whole thing, they had no security team, like the Vikings, an NFL team.
Yeah.
And I think that they were one of the last, and I want to say when they played the Bears right after they came back from the bye and the whole Love Boat thing was still being investigated. If I'm not mistaken at the time, Paul Tagliabue, commissioner of the NFL at that time, showed up and talked to the Wilfs. And at that point, the league basically assigned a security guy to the Vikings. So yes, Zimmer and company and the Wilfs get credit for taking steps to become a more respectable franchise. But that being said, too, just the way things are run, and it's a good thing now, because at least in situations like this, again, it's much more possible to keep an eye on a kid, and they are 21. They're going to do dumb things. You just don't want those dumb things to have tragic consequences.
Hey, by the way, coming up next week here in the Twin Cities, the 3M Open, we have a brand new commit, Justin Thomas, one of the hottest names in the PGA Tour, will be at the 3M Open. Now, he is trying to battle his tail off to make the FedEx Cup, but regardless, he will be here. That's a good thing. Billy Horschel's going to be here. Gary Woodland's going to be here. Tony Finau, the defending champ and one of the darlings of the Netflix series Full Swing that came out earlier this year. He'll be defending his title. We got kind of some behind-the-scenes access of Tony and his family staying here in the Twin Cities during that tournament, which he won. You go to 3mopen.com/tickets to get yours today to watch some of the best golfers in the world. Go to 3mopen.com/tickets. And speaking of fixing things, Judd, how about your friends at Finch Home Solutions?
Oh my goodness, look at that van. That's the van that's going to pull up in front of your house if you have any electrical issues. Cody Finch and his team, they do fantastic work. They are quick, they are courteous, they are as professional as it gets. And I mean, look at this. They're big fans of not only the Purple, but also, of course, Purple Daily. They're going to come to your house and they're going to fix things big or small. That's the great thing. If you need your house, let's say you've got an old house and it needs to be rewired completely, you just call up Finch, you contact Finch, the job gets done. Now, let's say that you've got an outlet that has 2 prongs instead of 3 or is on the fritz, and that needs to be replaced. That's a small job. It doesn't matter. Big or small, Finch is going to take care of you. They're going to, again, be quick. They're going to be courteous. Look, Finch Home Solutions has been in Sports Dad's home. And as Declan can tell you, he hasn't been in my home. You know why? Because Sports Dad doesn't usually allow people in his home. But when it comes to Finch, I welcome them, and they did fantastic work. 612-357-2604, 612-357-2604, or just go to finchhomesolutions.com, fill out a form, and they will show up at your house. Again, big or small, they will take care of you. finchhomesolutions.com. Electronics are not a DIY, folks. You want to have professionals, and Finch is the professional.
All right, some other comments here on Purple Daily reads the comments in our live Feedback Friday edition. Human Anomaly says, I'm surprised that Chad Greenway didn't make Judd's top 10 underappreciated Vikings list. I thought Judd was going to snub Chester Taylor for a second. I can tell you right now, I've only worked with Judd for the last 4 or 5 years. Even I know Judd loves him some Chester Taylor, so he was not going to snub Chester Taylor. But on the Chad Greenway front, was he too good, Judd? Was he kind of graduated
that's what I
from
thought.
That list?
Yeah, like Chad, who I like too. I don't think, and heck, I mean, folks in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong in your opinion, but I never thought of Greenway as being underappreciated. Maybe at the end, I think it was 2015, he took a pay cut, and then they had an injury, and he played a ton and actually played well. But I mean, he's a first-round pick. I never perceived Chad as being underappreciated. I actually thought that he was appreciated and played absolutely key roles on some pretty good Vikings teams. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he spent a lot of time here. I know he's from Iowa. He still resides here and does a lot for the community and does a lot in Minnesota in general. Underappreciated, though? No, I wouldn't say he was underappreciated by any means. I guess if you change the word to underrated, maybe. that classifies more
Yeah,
than underappreciated. But even then, I don't know if he was underrated.
Yeah, like I mean, just as a reference point, EJ Henderson barely made my list.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like he was first off, not because he wasn't good, but I sort of questioned, and I thought because he got hurt, he was eligible for my list. But I always thought that he was almost correctly appreciated. But I felt that he was more overlooked than Chad was.
Jim says Green was overappreciated, actually.
Well, Jim's talking about the end of Chad's career when he kept playing, and that gets to be a little bit dicey. But I think in his prime, I think he was properly appreciated.
Agreed. Josh says the greatest moment in podcast video history, watching Judd take a call from his cable company. When you took that call for the Thursday episode, Judd. Yeah,
my guy came, did a great job. Xfinity guy. I'm very
Judd
nice
here.
job. I appreciated it. He came in highly professional. Again, another guy that got in my house and proved to me that he could do the job. And that's what I'm looking for. But yes, I didn't have a choice there, because if you missed that call and they don't show up, you're back on hold with an operator. That whole experience is not a lot of fun.
You don't have to remind me what that was like about 2 months ago this time. I know exactly how painful that can be.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
And I'm still trying to get my tech problem solved. By the way.
We'll get there. We'll help that out. Rio says, I think Declan is a fresh breath youth. Yes, a fresh breath of youth. Fresh breath of youth. That's what I mean to say, as a 65-year-old lifelong Vikings fan, he cracks me up, and I like his perspective. Thank you, Rio. Appreciate that. As an older Vikings fan, I try to bring a different. It is kind of interesting. I see a lot of that dynamic lately on our comment section. Of you have Judd, who's obviously the oldest of the three and has seen the most of the Vikings football. Yep. You have Phil, who's about a half generation. He's about, I think Phil's like 6-7 years older than I am.
Yeah, I think he's 37.
And he's like that half generation kind of in front of me. And then I'm obviously the youngest, where I'm still a little bit probably more of the optimist of the three of us, but it's a great dynamic. It is a great dynamic. To toot our own horns is a great dynamic.
It's funny because when Phil and I started doing the, old radio show together, Phil was far more optimistic than Phil is now. And I feel like when you started, you were way more optimistic than you are now. But if this makes sense, you're still more optimistic than Phil at this point.
Oh yeah, I would say.
But I mean, we all go through that, that youth where you're like, oh no, it's gonna, and then you're like, you just keep watching and watching. But it doesn't mean that you don't like the team. It just means that you can't continue to set yourself up for disappointment all the time, because that gets to be a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I think also it depends on the team. Like the Twins have made me. I'm much more jaded on the Twins in the last few years than I've ever been in my lifetime. I haven't gotten there yet with the Vikings. I weirdly haven't gotten there enough with the Wild, and the Wild have had a
really. You're not starting to get tired of that?
I guess the meter's probably starting to point more towards irritated than optimist. But
it's a long time without a playoff series win. That is a long time.
I think it might be because they'll Judd, like I remember the Wild came here. Like I was 8 years old, and I remember when they got here. So I know what the entire franchise looks like. I don't know if that changes things a little bit for me, but that's also another reason why. WACA 533 says, I agree with Dex that they'll wear the throwbacks again, the ones that they're going to wear in week 1. And I'm willing to bet they will wear them either at home against the Bears or at home against the Packers. Both are in prime time against division rivals at home, so it makes sense. It's actually probably a good call there, that if they wear those old school throwbacks, they're going to wear again in week 1, which are great, by the way. I love those. Throwbacks. In fact, on the YouTube audience or YouTube screen, here's another picture of them that they're going to wear for week 1 against the Bucs. I think that might be a good call, that they could 100% wear them again against a division rival.
I'm going to see here here's the press release, because I didn't bring this up during your write that down prediction, because I didn't want it to be changed at all. But here's how it reads. Okay. The Classic, which is what they're being called, that you just showed on the screen. The Classic will be worn during the Vikings 2023 season opener against Tampa Bay on Sunday, September 10th at US Bank Stadium. The team will have the option to wear the uniforms each season moving forward. So what I got to check on is, can you only do it once per season? Because the team will have the option to wear the uniforms each season going forward. In fact, I'm going to send a note right now because what I'm curious about, because I love them. I'm with you. I'd wear those damn things all the time. And I believe, if I am correct on this, now this would not be here. It would obviously be for a Buccaneers home game. I think we're getting the creamsicles back.
Oh, okay.
I think we're getting the creamsicles back. Now they won't. I would, if they wore the creamsicles here, I would be in a puddle because I'd start crying. I love that. But anyway, so the difference here too is if fans recall, I want to say the Vikings wore throwbacks in 2008 and 9, or in 9 for sure with Favre, and in fact, when the Vikings went and played the infamous Moss game, his last game in tenure 2 against the Patriots wore Pat the Patriot, which I think is a great helmet and jersey. I love it.
Yep.
The difference is there was a long period of time where the league mandated that you could only wear one helmet for player safety. And I think now the technology is such that guys can go back to having multiple different, like 2 or 3 helmets. And so that's why the throwbacks are now back.
Yeah.
Because they outlawed that. So like if you had your helmet for the season, that was it. And now they relaxed those rules.
Yeah, I went to high school in St. Paul here in the Metro, and I went to Central, and St. Paul Central is the Minutemen, and the Minutemen basically have the red and black Patriots logo, not the old school one, but they're, the Patriot logo that we know in the 2000s, but it's red and black. And I always loved that it was a nice little
Pat the Patriot does the best.
But Pat the Patriot is also
Pat the Patriot's one of my favorites. Yeah. He's like my best friend who doesn't exist.
One last comment here before I get to my surprise at the end. Cameron says Declan trying to constantly compare himself to these quarterbacks in the Netflix doc is ridiculous. My level of disdain for Dex is incredible. Thank you, Cameron, for your level of disdain.
I compare myself to Kirk Cousins as far as the concerning himself with things that he shouldn't, but I got the same problem.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, Judd, you want to get to my little surprise that I have in store here for us?
Absolutely, yeah.
I probably should have done this with Phil at full strength, but I figured, you know what? Let's do this because now that it's on NFL, the Immaculate Grid is now an NFL thing. So for reference, the Immaculate Grid was started by some dude, I don't know who, but then he eventually sold it to sportsreference.com, which runs obviously Baseball Reference and now NFL Reference and NHL Reference. So the Immaculate Grid now exists with football. So Judd, we're going to do this a little bit here. I'm going to explain for the audience that's watching or that's listening, because the YouTube audience can obviously see what's going on here. It's a tic-tac-toe style grid, and you can only get 9 guesses, so you can't get any wrong. But from left to right, we need a Cardinal who was a Bill, a Cardinal who was a Brown, and a Cardinal who had a 3,000 passing yard season. Mm-hmm. In the middle grid, we need from left to right, we need a Lion who was a Bill, a Lion who was a Brown, and a Lion who had 3,000 passing yards. And the bottom grid is we need a New York Jet who was a Bill, a New York Jet who was a Brown, and a New York Jet who had 3,000 passing yards.
Okay. I'm
going to put 5 minutes on the clock here, Judd. Second.
Can we get help from the crowd?
Potentially, yes.
Can we crowdsource?
We can crowdsource. I'm not going to look at the comments until
I'm looking at them right now. I'm looking at them right now. You know what? I say let the people help us out.
All right, fine. We can all have on. All right. Kind of
Uh-huh.
copping out of this, but that's okay. All right.
No, I'm not. These people are our family, our Purple Daily family.
All right, the clock's rolling. Clock's rolling here. So what do you
the Cardinals, Kurt. Let's knock off 3,000 yard passing seasons. Kurt Warner.
Can I do Jake Plummer instead?
Sure.
Boom, 7%.
Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford. Don't get cute with that one.
Right. Jets, we do Favre.
Did he pass for 3,000 yards that season?
Yeah, he got 3,000 yards.
Because he got hurt and didn't.
But then he played all season. I mean, he was hurt, but
Sure. All right.
Favre?
Sure.
Yeah, Favre. Okay.
Is that 17%?
Yeah.
I wonder what the Jets that.
They probably think Mark Sanchez.
Yeah. All right. Now you want to go to which one? You want to go to
Cardinal who was a Bill. No, I'm trying to think here.
This might get hard.
Okay.
This might get difficult.
Cardinal who was a Bill.
Cole says, WTF is this? It's an immaculate grid of football, Cole.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking the nation by swarm.
He really is, though.
So Brown, okay, a Brown and a Cardinal. See, this is where I'm going to be. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of these guys, but
Lion who was a Brown.
oh boy, you might have set us up for failure.
Here.
Yeah, a Lion who was a Brown.
Jets and Bills. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
Yep. Jet and a Brown. Too bad we can't do head coaches or coaches because I would do Mancini. Mangini.
Colt McCoy is thrown out here
for the Browns and the Cardinals.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm taking all the help that we can get here. I'm not going to pretend like I know this.
McCoy. Cool.
All right,
Carson Palmer was a Bill? Was he? Well, Carson Palmer didn't. Oh,
he didn't play for the Bills, did he?
He played for the Bengals.
He was a Bengal, he was a Raider, and he was a Cardinal.
Braylon Edwards. Braylon Edwards played for the Jets. Did he play for the Browns? I don't remember him. Did he play for the Browns? He did. He did. Braylon Edwards.
Right. I like it. Thank you, TK. Thank you, TK.
Braylon Edwards. Boom, 24%.
We don't even have pictures of these guys.
Yeah.
Just got
John Brown for Card and Bill. Brown. I feel like that's like the most generic. Which John Brown? Currently John Brown, I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
Three of them.
Yeah.
No, all right, 63%.
That's great.
Look at these guys helping us out here.
Pete Metzelaars.
I didn't look at what the grid was going into this, so I know Judd and I probably did set us up for failure. But
Pete Metzelaars played for the Lions and Bills. Metzelaars. Metzelaars. Wow. There it is.
2%. All right, now we just need a Lion.
You guys
who was
are
a Brown.
good.
A Lion who was a Brown. We got 2 minutes in the clock here. Lion who was a Brown. I'm trying to think of like quarterbacks because like so many quarterbacks have bounced.
Did Gary
around.
Danielson play for both teams?
I have no idea who that is.
He was a quarterback for at least the Lions.
Oh, Anquan Bolden? Anquan Bolden played for the Lions? I don't remember that.
At the end, he probably did, yeah.
Did he?
These guys bounce around constantly.
He didn't play for the Browns or the Lions, I feel like. I don't trust that guy. I'm sorry, dude. I don't trust you. Brown, who was a Lion.
I want to say Gary Danielson.
Did John Kitna play for the Browns? John Kitna was a quarterback for the Lions.
He was a Lion. I don't remember him as a Brown.
Cowboys. Seneca Wallace.
Kickers? Any kickers?
Yeah, kickers are always good in there.
Eddie Murray was Lions kicker forever. I don't think he ever played for the Browns, though.
No. Chris Spielman? Oh, did Chris Spielman play for both? I know he played for the Lions for a long time.
He played for the Lions forever.
Let's do it.
Give it a shot.
Chris Spielman. Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, boy.
We got duped.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't remember him as a Brown. Just quickly look at Lions who were Browns.
Oh, man.
If you have that.
There's 93 players. The most popular was Jamie Collins. I don't even know who that is. Jamie Collins was the most popular answer for Lions and Bills. Other popular answers, Reggie Bush. Oh, I probably should have got Reggie Bush for that one. But let me go here quick to
this
Pro
is tougher
Football
than
Reference.
Baseball.
Oh, you know what would have been a good one? Jeff Garcia.
Oh.
Jeff Garcia played for both the Lions and the Browns.
Yeah.
Ty Detmer was another one.
Ty Detmer. We could have put Ty Detmer on every one of those things and he might qualify.
Detmer. Oh, man. Oh, boy, the Immaculate Grid. You talk about a bloodbath there of obscurity.
I don't know about the football one. I'm not sure about the football one. I love the baseball one.
Baseball one's great.
But I'm not sure about
baseball
the one.
One is great.
All right, that's enough
the
for me.
Immaculate Grid. That's also our feedback section here on Purple Daily. Hit that subscribe button for Daily Vikings Entertainment. Saturday edition, you're going to get some Purple Access with Judd Zolgad and our friend Chip Scoggins of the Star Tribune. Of course, there'll be Event Line episode 2 with Vikings fans. And then, of course, we're back on Monday, too. Training camp's finally here. The dwells of the offseason, the lists, the amazing lists that we have come up with, the great content we have come up with here on Purple Daily. It's not only going to get better because training camp and football pads are going to be on. We're talking night practice. We're talking SPF all over Judd's face. Going to be a lot of good stuff on Purple Daily. So hit that subscribe button, Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.